In today's video, we are turning Minecraft into The Last of Us, recreating the haunting post-apocalyptic world that we see in the games and the TV show. And I have previously done a Last of Us video, but at this point, it's safe to say that it's just a little bit dated. So let's just jump straight into it. So just like my other transformation videos, you know that we break this down into visuals, gameplay, and any extras you may want to throw in for that extra challenge. So starting off, we need to make Minecraft look a little less happy and alive. The easiest way of completely changing up the atmosphere is by using shaders. And there's quite a few that I think really sell the lonely and empty vibe that we're going for. Starting with Spooklementary, which is a rework of the complementary shaders that give it a much more moody and eerie atmosphere, stripping away the saturation and brightness and replacing it with some darker caves, much more fog, and realistic thunderstorms. Another option for shaders that works just as well is the Hysteria shaders, which again look just as moody, and it also has some really great fog to go along with it. Both of these shaders are optimized for most PCs, so you don't need a supercomputer to run them, and you don't run into the issue of dropping too many frames either. Moving on to changing the landscape, I've chosen Terralith, which adds in a load of different biomes, and even revamps and brings something new to the vanilla biomes that we're all used to in the base game. It also makes the landscapes look a hell of a lot more realistic. So now we've got the absolute bare bones for the visuals, it's time to actually add in some structures or points of interest when surviving the apocalypse. Starting off with a mod that I've used time and time again when it comes to transformations, we have the Lost Cities mod, which adds in these fully customizable cities throughout your world, and you even have the ability to customize the scale of them, the damage, and even how tall the buildings are. But to get the full effect that we're going for, we're going to be pairing Lost Cities with Kirdum's Zombie Apocalypse Essentials, and this will give the cities a huge overhaul and make them look a lot more run down and abandoned, and on top of that it also adds in these really cool power lines and radio towers, which is a super nice touch. Some other structure mods which work perfectly for this transformation is the Abandoned Urban mod and the Modern Structures mod, which will throw in a mix of different structures from abandoned trucks, factories, boats, gas stations, firewatch towers, each with their own loot to find to help you survive. But if you're more of an underground based kind of player, Underground Bunkers will add these well kitted out survival bunkers, which can vary from small to being a labyrinth of rooms for you to turn into your base. Just be careful when you're entering these because the infected have usually claimed these for themselves. One mod that I think works really well to bring a little bit more life into the apocalypse is Alex's Mobs, which I'm sure you've heard of as it brings in over 85 new mobs to your world. But since this is The Last of Us, using bad mobs, we can go into the config and turn off spawning for pretty much all the mobs that we want. But for this one, we're going to be keeping things like bears, crows, raccoons, just to add to the atmosphere when you're traveling through forests. And lastly, for the visual changes for this transformation, to make the zombies a lot less Minecrafty and a lot more terrifying, we can pair together the Tisso zombie pack and fresh animations, which will completely change the way that the zombies look and act with over 1,500 variations, as well as making them move a hell of a lot more zombie-like. But if you do want to stay faithful with the classic Last of Us zombies, like the clickers or the cordyceps zombies, just like we see in the games, a newer mod, Extinction Z, adds just that, with a bunch of these extremely well-detailed zombies to hopefully never run into. And again, this even adds in a few little structures to be dotted around your world. So now that we have the scenery and the atmosphere of The Last of Us in Minecraft, we need to talk about switching up the gameplay. First things first, we need to make the zombies a lot more dangerous. So with a combination of mob sunscreen and zombie awareness, zombies will now be free to roam and form hordes whilst the sun is up. The infected can now also seek out light sources, follow sounds like opening or closing doors, and even follow your blood scent if you slip and take damage. There's also a chance you could turn the corner and find this waiting for you. And to even survive more than a night in this apocalypse, we're going to need some weapons, and a lot of them. Now this does come down to preference when it comes to which firearm mod you want to use, but for this video I have chosen Timeless and Classics, which is a completely survivor friendly mod where you're able to craft ammo, weapons, and even customize them. But you're not going to be the only one in the apocalypse with access to these, as by also adding TAC-Z NPCs, there will now be additions of both USEC and bandits kitted up with the same gear as you. The USEC faction is pretty fine unless you engage with them first, but the bandits don't think twice about shooting first and asking questions later. The other main option is Vic's Point Blank, which again adds in a huge amount of different firearms, from pistols all the way to snipers, and again with the customization for attachments. But if you decide to pick a more quiet option by using handheld weapons, we have the Apocalypse Now mod, which gives us an absolute ton of different weapons to use, from baseball bats, guitars, axes, and even a fire hydrant to use in your defense. And if that wasn't enough, we have the Zombie Extreme mod, which not only adds in a large amount of weapons, but unique zombie types, apocalyptic food, medical items, armor, and the occasional structure to bump into. So to stay as safe as possible, you're going to need a decent set of armor, as your regular Minecraft armor isn't going to do much against the undead. Marbled Arsenal will introduce military grade armor pieces that can definitely take a bite or two, with options from SWAT uniforms, hazmat suits, ghillie suits to stay hidden, or a full-on juggernaut suit if you're feeling up for it. But surviving this infection won't just mean killing as many zombies as possible, but to survive as long as possible, which is where mods like Butchery, Fisherman Trap, and the Animal Trap mod come in handy. Having a stable and steady supply of food can make all the difference in this harsh landscape. And with all the structures and places you'll be looting, you'll be needing backpacks to give give yourself somewhere to keep all of the items while still being on the move. But getting from city to city could mean thousands of blocks of travel and countless hordes that stand in your way. And sometimes a horse just doesn't cut it. So with Dragon's Valiant vehicles, we not only have a faster transport, but storage as well, which are all customizable with different colored dyes to get your dream apocalyptic car. And finally, for the gameplay section of this transformation, we're going to need a form of defense if you do decide to build a fort or a HQ. So with Trapcraft, you can place multiple types of different traps around your base, including bear traps to slow down hordes, spikes to create a pitfall trap, as well as fake grass that breaks when you walk over it. Just remember that the dummies in this mod won't work as the zombies aren't drawn by their hunger of wood. So now that Minecraft has been turned into a Last of Us style apocalypse, here's a few extras that you may or may not want to throw in there for the extra challenge or immersion. Starting with immersive weathering, which will change the state of blocks and items around your world, like cobblestone becoming mossy over time, or bricks cracking in the heat. If you wanted to go the full distance and have one of the hardest challenges you can, you could throw in the tough as nails mod, which will add in way more difficulty than usual by having you monitor things like your temperature, your thirst, as well as your regular hunger bar. And it will have you saying, as if surviving normally wasn't hard enough. And if you fancy some more immersive FPS action, whilst using the previous weapon mods we talked about, tactical movement will give you a familiar feel with the addition of leaning, and being able to go into the prone position, which makes your hitbox that little bit smaller when defending from bandits. And for the last extra that I've got here, which I've been using all throughout this video, is the sit-in plus mod, which, as you guessed it, allows you to have really cool sit-in idle animations when you're taking a break, or you just want some peace from being chased from the infected. And that right there is how you turn Minecraft into The Last of Us. Now, there are options to add infection-based mods like fungal infection, but that again is completely up to you. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, leaving a like, comment, or even hitting the subscribe button goes a very long way, as we're really close to the 20k mark. But as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.